I'll never forget his face. I can see it now. The way he stared. Cloudy but focused eyes locked on me like I was the only thing in existence. We were on our honeymoon drive when it happened, gassing up at the only available stop before our 3-hour home stretch. We were heading to a cabin far from home, a wedding present gifted from her family. I don't know if it was the lonely roads or the dark, endless tree line, but I was on edge. I had just started pumping when I noticed him, hovering next to a beat-up Ford pickup. It was an older one with the square headlights and boxy frame. He was minding his business initially, but once his eyes saw me, they never lifted. At first, I gave a friendly nod, but when he did nothing but stare, I found the awkward crawl of discomfort settling in. He looked uncomfortable, confused. He reminded me of an extra in a horror film, the figure that was standing off to the side and out of focus. That's how he lingered, even after his nozzle clicked as it was topped off. I stared at the digits on my own pump impatiently, keeping him in my peripheral vision as I watched the numbers climb. He was just standing there, staring. Once mine was done, I hung the nozzle up and got my receipt. I gave the old man a parting wave, and he gave me the slightest of nods. He almost looked offended. Yanking the door and ducking in, I could even feel him watching me after I got in the car. "You see that?" I asked my wife, who was sitting in the passenger seat. Her face was buried in her phone, scrolling through videos of people doing embarrassing dances. She said tiredly, not quite looking away. Her eyes were haggard, the screen time keeping her awake until we were on the road again. "That old man, he was staring at me," I said, turning the key in the ignition. Our little Honda started up, and I buckled my seatbelt. "What? Where?" she asked, looking up away from her phone. She looked around until she saw him. He was still there, standing next to his truck. "Creepy," she said, turning back around. "Maybe he's looking at you," I joked, putting it in drive and pulling away. I watched in the mirror, the old man's head swiveling slowly as we left. It gave me the chills. "What, my bony ass?" she snorted, and I grabbed her hand, interlocking our fingers. "Maybe. You get the GPS back up?" I asked, pulling back onto the road. The long stretch of lines reflected off the headlights. "Oh, right, sorry," she said, bringing it up again. The bright GPS screen lit up the cab, and when the blue line on the grid collected itself, the voice spoke over Bluetooth. "In 2 miles, take a right." "We almost there?" she yawned, nestling back in her seat. Not really," I said, adjusting the rearview mirror. Off in the distance, a set of square headlights was turning out of the gas station. "Can you wake me up when we're close?" she asked, already falling asleep. I watched the headlights for a moment, heading in the same direction as us. I pressed the accelerator further. "Sure thing, honey." Surely it was just a coincidence. I kept my eyes forward, watching for deer in the passing trees. I messed with the radio, trying to find something to listen to. Behind me, the headlights were getting closer. I tuned the dial and found a station, only for it to be cut off by the automated voice. "In 500 feet, take the next right." I slowed down, watching both the headlights and the upcoming turn. I thought of the old man's stare and how he stood perfectly still, never looking away. Just picturing it made me shudder. "Turn right." I slowed and cut the wheel, turning onto another long back road, one that looked shadier than the last. My wife opened her eyes for a second before snuggling back against the door. "In 3 miles, take a left." I kept driving, both hands on the wheel. I was tired as hell, every yawn watering my eyes and making me drowsier. I rubbed my face, massaging my cheeks to remove the stiffness. I watched the mirror subconsciously, waiting for the truck to fly past. I watched silently, seeing the glow come closer and closer. I watched them slow and pan over, the headlights bouncing on the old suspension. The truck was still following. Honey? Honey, wake up. I nudged her and she groaned. What? She stretched. That old man, he's following us, I said, my hands gripping the wheel. What? She said, looking behind us. The truck was gaining, chugging behind us through the night. I tried to go faster, but it kept speeding up, the headlights getting closer and closer. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe he lives around here. You didn't say something to him, did you? She asked. No, nothing. I tried to wave. That's about it, I said. Maybe he'll turn off. Ahead was a traffic light, the soothing green glow like a beacon. I sped up to try to catch it, but almost as if in spite, it started changing. Damn, I said, slowing down again. My eyes darted between the traffic light and the truck. It practically flew up on us, headlights blinding in the mirrors as we stopped for the red. The truck was loud, a big engine and old exhaust echoing right behind us. My wife looked behind us and shielded her eyes. I stared at the red light as if my will could make it change faster. He's getting out, my wife said, and my blood ran cold. What? I asked, checking the side mirror. Fuck, babe, he's got a knife. She squeezed my shoulder, looking frantic. In the mirror, I saw him close the truck door and start walking toward us. I saw the light hit the blade in his hand, and he started shuffling faster, his image growing as I watched. What the fuck? What the... Go, babe, go, 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 go! She yelled, and I looked both ways. The light was still red. The old man was at my window. I stomped on the gas, and the tire squealed, the car lurching as it caught traction. We blew the intersection, and I watched the dark silhouette shuffle back to his truck and throw open the door. In the light of his cab, I could see him hitting the steering wheel. In 1 mile, take a left. We sped away, trying to put as much distance between us as possible. The truck was moving again, but my head start had bought us time. My wife turned in her seat, watching the truck struggle to keep up. Ahead, I saw the green rectangular sign for a back road. In 500 feet, take a left. Hang on, I shouted, slamming on the brakes. For what? My wife shouted, but grabbed the overhead handle anyway. Spinning the wheel quickly, I turned right instead, and gunned it down an unfamiliar, unkempt stretch of road. The pavement was poor and cracked, the lines barely legible in the center. I swerved to hit potholes and broken sticks. What are you doing? She shouted, holding on for dear life. We gotta lose him, I said, nervously watching the mirror. Make a U-turn. The road was dark and winding, taking us up hills and under railway bridges. It squealed on every curve, our little car struggling to miss the many obstacles on the road. Garbage cans, old mattresses leaned against brush. The trees were dead here, towering above us like withered giants in the dark. Make a U-turn. The road grew thinner and more desolate, the shoulders turning into deep, treacherous ditches. I checked the mirror again. Nothing but darkness. It was getting harder to see. I turned the brights on, and it only added to the discomfort, lighting up hundreds more wicked branches and scattered trash. What do we do? My wife asked. My mind raced. I didn't really know. I don't know. Call the police, I shouted, and she unlocked her phone. The bright light hampered my view, the glare infecting every window. Ahead, the road straightened out, getting even more narrow. The tires bounced as the pavement transitioned to gravel, the static of it droning and plinking against the wheel wells deafening us. Ahead, a large orange sign reflected our light, but the high beams were too bright to make out the old lettering. Babe, make a U-turn. I squinted at it, having no choice but to slow down due to the lack of a road. I read the sign, big black capital letters echoing in my mind. Babe, I don't have enough signal. Ahead, the road was gone, the sparse gravel blending to dirt, then grass, then nothing. Dead end. The ground ahead ceased to exist, the sheer drop-off of a cliff waiting on the other side of the old sign. Behind us, the headlights were coming. I parked the car, witnessing the impending doom of the light catch-up. Not enough room to turn around. Nowhere to go. Frantically, I searched the inside of the car, looking for some kind of weapon. Tossing aside old documents in the center console, I found a flashlight. The truck pulled behind us slowly, blocking us in. I tested the flashlight. The batteries were dead. Still better than nothing. "Stay in the car," I yelled and threw open the door. "What do you want me to do?" my wife cried, looking from me to the truck. "Lock the doors." I gripped the flashlight in my hand, hoping the weight of it would give me courage. It didn't. The old man emerged from his truck, hinges creaking loudly as he pushed his door shut. The knife was in his hand like a spike protruding from his arm. He was breathing hard, his shoulders hunching as his chest heaved. "What the hell do you want?" I shouted. He took another step forward and stopped, his shadow in the headlights frozen. He craned his head for a moment and stepped back. He moved stiffly, his movements slow. "Why are you following me?" I shouted again, stepping forward with the flashlight. I could hear my wife sobbing in the car. I was tired of running. I raised the flashlight and marched toward him. He raised the knife, ready to stab. I gripped my teeth and reared back, ready to swing. I saw his face in the dark, his piercing eyes staring just as they had at the gas station. I brought the flashlight down, hoping to knock the weapon from his hand, and stopped. The old man was crying. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," he said, his voice choking. I lowered the flashlight slowly, and he lowered the knife. "Why were you following us?" I asked, lowering my voice. He looked so thin and frail, even in the dark. He put his arms down, both hands squeezed into fists. He looked like he wanted to walk away, his steps hesitant, shaking. "I'm sorry. I thought you were my son. I was wrong. I'm sorry." He looked away, trying to shield his face. "Wait, what?" I asked. I looked at my car where my wife sat on edge, her mouth hanging open. "When I saw you at the gas station, I thought you were my son. You looked just like him. But it couldn't be. My son passed away a long time ago now, in a car accident. But you looked just like him. I wanted to be sure. I had to be sure. But your voice, you're not him. You're not Peter. I'm sorry for scaring you. You must be terrified," the old man said. "But the knife, at the light, you were coming at me with a knife," I said. It didn't make any sense. I know. I didn't think that through. I let my emotions get the better of me. I'm just an old fool. I got this for my son all those years ago, and I thought you were him. I thought maybe if I could get it to you, you could move on. And I could move on. But I made a mistake. I saw what I wanted to see. I'm sorry." He choked and started backing up. I looked at my wife, who threw up her hands in confusion. I held up a finger and mouthed a, "Wait a minute." "If you want to press charges, I understand. I'll wait here for the police." He turned and started walking back to his truck. I went after him. "Wait, hang on a second." I called after him and he stopped. He was so much smaller and thinner up close. I guess at the gas station I saw what I wanted to see too. I gave him a hug. He resisted at first, but when I didn't let go, he gave in and returned it. We stood there for a while. I let him cry for as long as he needed, standing in the square headlights in the middle of nowhere. There was no press charges, no stabbing or clubbing. I motioned for my wife to get out, and when she joined us, I explained what had happened. "My name's Tom, this is my wife Gina. I'm sorry for almost hitting you, and I'm sorry about your son," I said. "It's all right. My name's Wallace. I'm sorry I scared you good people tonight, but thank you for giving me your time. You didn't have to do that, and I appreciate it. Before I go, I think I'd like you to have this. I can't hang on to it anymore." He held out his hand, the hunting knife in his palm. Inscribed across the blade were the words, "For my son." I took it and promised to take care of it, under the stipulation that he take my number so we could talk again. He seemed to enjoy that, and after a hug farewell and even a few laughs, we parted ways. I watched him walk back to his truck, his head held higher than before. He opened the door and looked at me for a moment, giving a final wave before ducking in. I found myself freezing briefly before nodding and waving back. Behind him, barely visible, was a man, his hand resting lightly on Wallace's shoulder. He nodded to me with a smile, and after the old man climbed in and shut the door, he was gone. Today's video was supported by patrons like Mark from Earth, Crimson Muse, Joy Burton, Diane Showers, Mark Sewall, Cheryl James, Pick Your Sticker, Teddy Dog, Clue 404, Mamakato, Dante Kincaid, Zarin Ray, Angela Donovan, Plarian 50, Devin Kyle, Timothy Baird, Ajeti, Bert Turner, Bajani Aspinall, Michael Pierce, Big Joe, Gary Harkonnen, LaDonna Spivey, Scott Tanaka, Tom Stewart, Sherman Davis, Bryce Shelton, Susan McClendon, Elise Batiste, Lisa and the Cult Jam, Open Circuit, Fabulavore, Raymond Jaggers, That Darn Fox, Raison Detra, Kai Gaming 99, Wendy Burns, The Wendigo, Michael Squishy Park, The Gem Star, Vault 77 Citizen, Puppy Dan, Clovis Wolf, Eldridge Elm, Derek Prey, Elder Being, KC Hawaii, Rob T, Tragic Mermaid, Darren Fishnaller, Clove Zenoya Harris, Roe Underwood, Florida Man Luke, Bethany's Mom, Winter's Kiss, Sam Brook, The White Stag, Corgi Connection, No Name, Marta Cara, Professor Elm, Kathy Barrickman, Cybard Sands. If you'd like to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/Jordan Group Horror. As a patron, you get access to bonus videos, a Discord channel, and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward, and if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you, which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow. And see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.